Hello, Nori Rodriguez again. Here is my principal, Miss Carol Crowley, and our assistant principal, Miss Courtney Reeves. And we're going to be discussing some points on the assessment needs of our campus, George H.W. Bush, in Dallas ISD.
Awesome. Okay. So let's start by looking at our 2022-2023 data pack that Mrs. Scrolling has. Let's look at where our students fell through our assessments, what deficiencies they have instructionally, and we'll just kind of keep going from there.
Okay, so we'll start with reading. Fifth grade, 80.3% of our students were at the approaches.
Which
for
is
higher level.
fantastic.
That was fifth grade, fourth grade 70%, and third grade 77%.
And this is approaching
Approaching
Peaks
and
and
higher.
masters? Okay, approaching
Yeah,
and higher,
approaching
okay.
and higher. And so if you go to the Met, fifth grade was at 59.2,
Okay,
fourth grade 40.7, and third grade 60.6.
and do we have a breakdown of the demographics, with those as
That's
well?
gonna come here
A little bit later, okay.
a bit later. So math, we were at the meets level was 83.1 in fifth, 60.7 in fourth, and 78.8 in third. And what we see now is this pattern with fourth grade being the lowest class.
That is sad because I teach fourth grade, but it is
That
what
was
it is.
last year's fourth grade. For the percent at Met, for fifth grade it was 53.9, fourth grade 32.8, and third grade 54.5. And really, the goal that we were trying to get to last year was 90% at approaches, 60% at meets or higher, and 30% at masters. And then just focusing on math and reading, let me get to this Spanish reading. So Spanish reading at approach, fifth grade was 80% approach, fourth grade 76%, and third grade 71% approach. And then at meets, fifth grade 46.7, fourth grade 61.9. So there they exceeded the others.
Great.
Third grade was only 28.2.
Fantastic.
So we're really trying to push our teachers this year to get up to the meets and masters, because approach really is not grade level.
Of course. And it will not give us a good grade from the state.
Right, we're really pushing the domain 1 this year to get the A for domain 1. We've always been strong in the gaps and in the growth domains, but not so much domain 1.
Okay.
Just the raw scores.
What about our population?
So if you go to the population, a better report than this probably is actually the report from the state. I'll try to pull up here in a minute.
Is that what they call the taper?
Yeah.
No, what is the
well,
taper?
Yes, that one is, in my opinion, has way too much detail.
Okay.
But I can tell you just the breakdown by ethnicity. 32% African American, 56% Hispanic,
it's huge, the percentage of Hispanics.
English language learners, that is 44%.
Mm-hmm.
And so we do have a lot of Hispanics on the gen ed side. Special education makes up about 7% of our students. Talent and gifted is about 13%. At risk, 40 or about 50%, and economically disadvantaged, 82%.
82, that's important for my 82%
Yeah.
economically disadvantaged.
So in just looking at this, I mean, I can pretty much tell a lot of it is like which teacher the students had, if the student is new to us, you know, they came in the middle of the year, or they were virtual for the past 2 years. That's where we're seeing the big gaps.
Those are the gaps.
If they've been here, they've done pretty well as far as meeting their growth goals.
Yeah, virtual and newcomers. I have to say that I have like 12 newcomers this year. For the past 4 weeks, I've been getting like one or two newcomers, a lot from Venezuela. And it is an issue because I have to prepare the notebooks, I have to prepare the lessons and try to bring them to where we are, and it is an issue that
And that has really shown on our TELPAS scores with our EL, our EB students, as far as like the English, where their biggest deficiency is.
Yes, I am still fighting and I'm still discussing with the bilingual department the fact that our TELPAS is so low. There is a huge gap there, and I really do not know how to fix it. Last year, as you know, I started this TLC, this PLC with the teachers, and Miss Newland was the one that definitely took the task seriously.
Right.
And try to teach at least 30 minutes out of the 45 that they're supposed to be teaching.
Right.
And it showed.
It showed with their scores. That's absolutely great.
It showed. I tried to do bridging, but the kids, the newcomers, no English whatsoever. And at home they are speaking Spanish also. So this is the message that I try to get to the bilingual department, that the kids are not practicing English at all.
Right.
So how in the world are they going to improve that English, and we're going to be moving that TELPAS?
Well, I know that Brookhaven community, or they might have dropped community college at this point. It's Brookhaven Dallas College. I know that they have partnered with Dallas ISD, and we actually have a program that's getting ready to start, I believe, in maybe like a week or two. And they're going to be offering free ESL classes
For the kids
For,
too, because usually it
parents.
was for parents.
Yes, it's for parents, but I think that like the more the parents are exposed to the English and start
Totally.
speaking the English, the more accepting it'll become for the students when they come home and they're speaking English as well.
Yeah.
I think it's uncomfortable. You know, I'm just trying to put myself in their shoes for the students to come home speaking English and the parents don't really understand what they're saying. So I could imagine some of the conversations are, here at this house, we're going to speak our native language, so everyone is on the same page and they're communicating. So I think that's going to be a great way, and it's really going to help align with what we're doing with our parent academies, to have those parents coming up here on the campus or to Brookhaven on a Saturday 2 or 3 times a month, taking these couple-hour classes. And so what we've challenged them to do is to also figure out a way to incorporate the kids. And so they are actually working on that right now to figure out how they can offer, kind of like what McCandless does in the summer.
Yes,
when she
exactly.
works with the newcomers. So as soon as they have a good solution for that, we're going to bring it to the teachers so they know that this is another avenue. And basically, like, you know your students best. If you have a student who is not speaking well English and they need that support, then they would come to this class. And my assumption would be that if they're not speaking great English, the parents probably are not as well.
Exactly. I have the experience from last year that, remember our twins that are in 5th grade now?
Yes.
Mom went to those classes, and on the weekends they were studying with all the materials that the college gave them, and I could see that
That it
they
was
were not
making-
speaking, but they were making
It was
progress.
making progress, yeah.
They were understanding Miss Wood, and that's I think that's a big,
That's
big,
huge.
yeah, it's huge, and we need to see how to address it.
Well, when we talk about a campus needs, survey and like the data that you get from it, I think that that's going to be one of the biggest things that we're seeing as we continue going through this, is that our EL students, our SPED students, and our TAG students are going to be our biggest areas of like trying to get resources to get them growing. On the flip side of that, our TAG students usually come in high, but they still have to grow. They can't come in high and stay stagnant while we are pulling small groups
And that's what
focusing our
we're
attention.
seeing with
Right.
our EBs.
Yeah.
I mean, I have kept all my evaluation cards, and for the Telbus line, we go down every year from 5 points that I was able to get as a teacher for my evaluation scorecard. I only got 1 point this year.
Right.
Well, all the dual language teachers just got one point.
That is
And that is
correct.
horrible. That is
Yeah.
horrible.
So that will be great
yeah.
as you're starting to come up with solutions.
Yes.
In your next meeting on like, what does that look like as a campus-wide rollout? So not just 4th grade, because it really needs to start kinder,
Okay.
right? Because that's when kids are age appropriate, when they're soaking it up, when they're sponges. How are we going to create a system here on our campus that rolls all the way down to kindergarten to get our students exposed to more English, teachers teaching more English? What does that look like?
Well, it's really kind of confusing because now the bilingual department wants to have Spanish on those lower grades, and I think it's going to be wonderful for the English speakers because they will be able to have a place to practice the Spanish. But it's going to be good for our EBs. For our English learners, Spanish native, but it's going to take even slower for them to speak the English. You see?
So one of the things that we feel like we can fix quickly with TELPAS is to have the students practicing the format of the test.
Yes.
So what we found with a lot of kids, they did not understand how to use the computer because it's all computer based. So there will be times throughout the year where we're going to have them do a sort of a mock telepass, a mock star for the older kids, and get them used to taking the test on technology.
Yes.
We found like with the speaking part, they really struggle with that. They didn't always understand what the test was asking them to do. So instead of answering a question, they often just repeated what was said.
Yes.
And so just knowing how to take the test, I think, will be the easiest thing that we can
Do
tackle.
right now.
So what I get from you is that we have a big issue with technology, and the kids are not comfortable, are not familiar with this
Well,
test taking.
I mean, they're familiar with technology. They obviously know how to use technology. But two things that I see. They don't understand the format of the test,
Yes.
and they don't understand the importance of the test and how it connects to them.
Yes.
And so they show up one day and they are told to go do this thing on the computer, and so they go and do it, and they have no
Exactly,
idea
they
what it's
have no
for,
idea.
how it's used,
And
why
yes.
they should do their best. It's just
Yeah, they do not understand the importance.
And that was something that I brought up to Mrs. Crowling. Last year was my first year actually administering like the TELPAS assessment to students, and so just kind of walking around, making labs, making sure the students are on there. They just didn't understand what they should be doing, and so it would ask them to, describe what this picture is, and they would respond by saying, describe what this picture is, and then they would turn that in. And so that's, I think, where we saw a lot of the discrepancies on what do they actually know. I have a hard time saying that like our kids don't know anything, you know what I mean? Like, I think they do know stuff. I just don't think that they had been exposed to what it was gonna look like. And unfortunately, we're a pretty high transient school, and a lot of that has to do with, where our students come from, especially, housing the homeless shelter that they come here from. We have a lot of newcomers that come in, and so if they're never exposed to it, I mean, are we setting them up for success?
The bilingual department stated that one of the biggest issue with that it was on the speaking part. The microphone maybe will not get the voice. The microphone maybe will start later than when they start speaking. So we definitely have an issue there. I am very curious about what is our homeless community. Is that like permanent? Are they going to be living in those hotels forever?
So it's a year-to-year basis, and what happens is, if you lose your job or you make under a certain amount, I think right now it's around 27 to 30. I don't think it's any higher than 30.
So it's not a huge group, but it is a
It
group.
is. So it's a formula. They take how much you make annually, and they divide it by how many people live in your household. And so for our families, if you're making, let's say, 28,000, and you have 5 people there, then they say that that's not enough to live off of, which I think the 3 of us could agree that that is not
Definitely.
enough to live off of and provide. And so you fill out an application and you send in your verification, and then they house you there. And so rent there, I think it's like maybe $100 a month. So it's a week. So it's very for them.
Mhm.
So
Is
substantial.
there
But
any?
a lot of them actually, the rent is more expensive than what they could get outside, but they
Right.
they don't have any credit.
Right.
They don't
Okay,
have money for
credit
down payment.
history, and they
Mhm.
cannot.
So
They
they can't
cannot.
find another place to live.
Okay, wow.
And so it's a year-to-year application that you fill out. And so the reason why we lose kids throughout the year is because for whatever reason, they no longer meet the criteria that is required in order for that to be approved. And so we see sometimes where they, leave and then come back.
Yes.
And then leave and then come back.
Can
So
they
that's-
get any help from the Rotary Club that they're so supportive to us? Maybe from United Way.
Well,
So
there's-
they do. They get help in many different ways. So they get help with learning how to write resumes. They get help with setting up job interviews at different places for them.
That's-
they get help
that's
with
done
clothes,
through
food
Metro
pantry. hmm
The
But-
food pantry.
Yeah, there's multiple different avenues of how they get help.
But they also, when they work with MetroCrest, there's a
MetroCrest.
responsibility side of it. So
Right.
it's not just give from MetroCrest point of view. It's like there's a follow through,
Mm-hmm.
and so if they are not doing the follow through,
Then they
They
lose the
will lose
When they
privilege.
lose the privilege of getting it.
They
Yes.
lose the privilege.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's a check-in process, and they seem to be pretty I don't want to use the word strict, but they follow up.
Well,
And-
I
and
think
there-
it's fair. I think
There are
it's fair.
forms and different things that you must turn in to show. It's almost like when you are trying to pull unemployment,
Mhm.
right? You have to show where you've gone in and you've interviewed so many times.
Okay. And another thing that I know we have in hands is the common assessment coming next week.
Yes.
What do you think that might be a plus, maybe a delta? Maybe we can do a little discussion on that common assessment coming. We got another week, so I'm very happy about that, right?
Yes, we sat down and looked at how many we compared the blueprints to what we have actually taught, and so that showed us that we needed a few more days to finish
Mm-hmm.
either reteaching or introducing skills to students. So we gained, I want to say right at 7 days
Mhm.
of extra instruction time, and I think that could make a huge difference when you're asking a student to take an assessment. So that's great. I think that this first common assessment is going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say it's going to be,
Great.
great or horrible, but I think it's going to be okay, but I think it's going to be a great place for us to make a concrete plan on what we're going to do moving forward to make sure our students are meeting their goals.
And it's going to be online.
Yes,
It's
it'll
all
be
going to be
all
online.
online.
So what we will see is which kids, I know they've been taught.
Mm-hmm.
How much did they
Remember,
remember and take in?
yeah,
So what we've noticed, the classrooms last year that are most successful in tests are the ones that have built their relationship with their kids, and the students understand
yep,
they have a job to do when they take this test.
yep,
and they have a goal to meet. So
Mhm.
your goal may be to get a 50. It's not like to get it 100, but the student knows what they need to do, the work they need to show on a piece of paper when they take that test online,
Yeah.
so they can meet their goal.
Yep.
And then we celebrate when they meet their goals. And so just turning, and that's a lot of that has come from the work that we're doing as a Leader in Me campus. We're really empowering the students to take charge of their lives, to be an agent for themselves, to speak up, to use their voice. And part of that is that they've all set goals in the third through fifth grade.
And I think that all of the grades, at least we have done it at fourth grade, they know what their goal is, and we have worked on that. Now that you mentioned the Leader in Me program philosophy, on October 18, we have an activity, a big activity coming that is going to be tied up with what we can call the gap of having parents in campus.
Yes. So
Can
family.
we talk about
engagement.
exactly a little bit? I'm in charge of the culture team, and we came up with a lot of ideas. We did a brainstorming. Mr. Flores came up with the idea of doing a drama with the kids, and actually the drama is one of the resources from the Leader in Me. It's called The Donkey and the Man, something like that. But I think that's going to be hard to do. I did that meeting, and one of the questions was about our expectations on it, and I really have no idea on what to expect from it, because I thought it was at night, and now I learned that it's during the day.
Right.
What will be a good turnout? Like 100 parents, 50 parents?
I would say 50, since this is our first event that we're really having, would be a great turnout. So we do several different surveys and assessments, but a part of the Leader in Me is they have an actual survey that they send out as well. And so that showed that our lowest scoring component was family engagement. Unfortunately, the past 2.5 years, per district policy, we just haven't been able to have anyone on campus, due to COVID restrictions and things like that. So this is the first real event that we are going to have. It's called Community Day. And so Community Day allows families, most importantly, it allows businesses, organizations to come into our school, to partner with us, to see what are we needing. But before you can ask someone for something, right, you have to be willing to open the door, let them come in. So we are hopeful that we'll be walking into classrooms and they'll see kids having fun, students having fun, kids engaged, teachers and students excited to be here.
Yes.
Showcasing what they feel like is special about their classroom that day.
I have to say yes. I have to say that they love coming to school, especially when school is not running. But the parents will not bring them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we have 200
Yeah.
people.
That would be great.
Here, because it's the first
It's the
opportunity.
first
But what I
opportunity.
want to highlight, and we're still meeting on getting all the logistics figured out, but for students to explain to adults, this is my leadership folder, these are the goals I've set, this is what I'm doing to meet those goals. Here's how I've done so far.
So are the parents going to be coming
Well,
into the classrooms?
They will be in a group, and that group will go to classrooms that may not be their child's classroom.
Right.
Okay.
Okay,
So we'll
so-
break them up into, believe that we have A through F groups right now. We're just kind of anticipating possibly quite a few people.
Mhm.
But our student leadership team, our student lighthouse team, will be the ones giving the guided tours around the school. We have like specific areas that they're gonna spotlight. Like, this is our auditorium. This is where we go to specials, and then we have specific teachers that they'll go to along the stop. And then we'll be here and available if they have questions or if they're curious about certain systems or things like that.
Okay. Another issue that I know it has been going for a few time now is the after school. That you were not happy with the YMCA, and that was a big issue. And now we have the Big Five. Tell me. I think we should showcase them.
They will be here
They will be
on the
here.
18th, and they'll have a table. So in the auditorium, we'll move those tables around a little bit. So put like a tablecloth on it, and grade levels or programs that are here can just kind of like showcase what they're doing. So Big Five is very excited about having a table and to just kind of show parents like what they do. We've gone in several times. The environment, the culture, it's very
another
welcoming
place
and
in time.
the kids are constantly having hands-on activities
Totally.
that they need to do. Students who are, special education are welcomed. They are not like pushed out, and they cater their specific learning based on like what their IEP says, which is really nice.
I
They
agree.
definitely, I would think, is one of the better after school programs that we've had here.
I know. Can we talk a little bit on attendance? How is it looking? How was last year? How is going this year?
Yeah, this is actually one of our highlights this year so far. This is not the whole year though. Is last year at this time when we pulled, so attendance for credit is what we do here on the campus, and so when students reach 8 absences, whether they're excused or unexcused, they get a warning letter from the district that states like, hey, you have a lot of excessive absences. Here's kind of what's going on. And so when they get to 10, then they have to start going to court and they have to start explaining to the judge like why we have these absences. So at this time last year, we had about 22 students that already had anywhere between 10 and 18 absences, which means they were gone at least 2 to 3 times a week.
Wow, sirs, that's
Now, with one of the surveys that went out, the district saw that. Their way of addressing that was by moving elementary school 15 minutes. And so instead of school starting at 7:45, we now start at 8 o'clock, and that doesn't sound like it makes a big difference, but it makes a huge difference with time. We pulled the attendance for credit, and right now we only have 3 students who are on attendance for credit.
fantastic.
All of them have an excuse, like to have been home with COVID, and so they are quarantined. And then the third one is
And
Yes.
you will excuse me, I have to go to an attendance meeting.
No problem.
Absolutely.
Thank
Do
you
you want to
so
close that
much.
door, Mrs. Crowley?
Thank you so much. much, Miss Crowley.
Um,
Then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to move here to where she was.
Yeah.
Miss Crowley had to leave us, but you know we are here teaching. This is real school.
Yeah.
This is real. And I knew it was going to be hard to get 45 minutes, but maybe, I don't know what else we can discuss. Our gaps were clear. I talked to my professor and my field supervisor, and I told them that we have worked on this already, and that of course we were going to go over it, but those meetings were going to be around 20 minutes. I don't know what else do you think that we can discuss, or any other ideas that we can.
Sure. So we can talk about student engagement and what that looked like. So prior to me being assistant principal, so that would have been about a year or so ago, our data showed that we had, it was about 70% office referrals, and of that 70%, 60% of that was African American students who were getting office referrals.
Loving this topic, just to clear myself, when you say student engagement, that has to do with, it's related to behavior.
So, yes, when we're talking about student engagement, we're talking about we have to start with behavior, so then we can move on to the other things that we're doing on campus to combat that. And so we're kind of tying those two things together. So we had huge office referrals. We looked at the data behind that. We had it showed that our African American students were the ones receiving the office referral. So it's okay, we need to address this. Now that we are still a leader in me school, but we have a student lighthouse team. Our students look forward to being a part of this team that can help give back to the school. And so they get to meet with us on the leadership team and help us decide what directions do we need to go to make this a fun place for kids to want to come to. So that has been very helpful. We also have the school store where students can earn their Bush Bucks, and then they can take that, turn it into money, and then that goes to the school store where they can buy things. And so that comes out once every 9 weeks. At the end of the 9 weeks is when the teachers will get a survey, and they can sign up for the time that they like to bring students in there. We've also gone back to UIL competitions now.
Yes,
so
I'm
students
part
have
of
the
it.
opportunity
I'm part of it.
to sign up for those. We will also be doing 5th grade debate. We have some academic competition teams, and then we have something called Play this year, which is where students can stay after school to learn how to play sports. They like for 3rd through 5th grade students to be able to do that, to just kind of get them interested, pique their interest in sports that they might like when they go over to middle school. So I think because we have all of these opportunities going on, it has been very helpful with combating the behavior.
What
Now,
do
we
you
still
think-
have pockets of areas.
Why do you think that the behavior issues is mostly on the African American?
Sure, I think that
population?
when we really break down that data, we will see that of our low socioeconomic students, of our homeless students, the biggest demographic there is African American. So I think that a lot of their behavioral issues come from trauma. of like what they're currently having to do in life. You know, I can only put myself in their shoes. It must be hard to wake up in the morning and not know what the day is gonna bring. Like, will we have lights? Will we be able to take showers? You know, I'm sharing a room with 3 of my siblings, and so I think that's a lot for them to come to school. Now we're asking them to like forget about everything else that's going on and to learn. And
It's
so
not easy.
It's not easy.
It's not easy.
And so I think that, like, you know, I mean, we're adults. If we don't eat and we don't sleep, how are we? Like, we've learned how to control ourselves a little bit better, but we still can be temperamental and things like that. So I think that that's where that comes from. So I'm hopeful that now that we have Rainbow Days back, that will be very helpful for students who are experiencing really tough times, to just have that place and that outlet where they can meet after school a couple of days, you know, talk about things that are going on, but then also have like activities, get exposed to things that maybe they wouldn't be able to just at home.
Another issue that I noticed when I was checking the data, I was supposed to check the data before this meeting and this video recording.
Sure.
And this year, you know, you are a DTR ambassador for this district, and I starting my leadership as a TEI expert for the campus, and I know we have a huge teacher turnover.
Yeah.
So that's a big gap that we are trying to focus.
Yeah.
I sense that the teachers are not happy. I offer, as you know, a little meeting for questions and answers last week because the score sheets were finally.
Yeah, and I'd like to kind of just like clarify why they're not happy.
Yeah, maybe we can talk.
So it's not that they're not happy here at the school. They like, you know, their colleagues. They appreciate the administration team. The deeper issue is that we're a pay-for-performance school district. And so because we're a pay-for-performance school district, it makes it a little difficult because we work in an urban school district where we have a high population of like special education students or 504 students, which means when you're looking and when the expectation is you have a certain percentage of your students who meet or master an assessment or meet their goal, but you have, you know, the circumstance where, let's say I have 25 students and 12 of them are sped, I'm kind of,
it's tough to get.
you know, I feel like it's a little bit of a,
I wonder. Yeah, thank you so much.
little bit of a disadvantage,
Uh-huh.
and so I think teachers are just a little frustrated with the system and how it works. And you know, Mrs. Scrolling and I are also on the
When you come over here.
incentive program as well.
There you
so
go.
I
Yeah.
think with like the rules constantly changing, and
Yeah, I call it the moving
demographic.
target.
Yeah, it is.
We
It
were
is kind of a
expecting
moving target.
the bands of points to come down, and actually they moved up. I know of a couple of teachers that are reviewing because they missed the
Rebuttaling.
band
Yeah.
rebutting.
Yeah.
Thank you, because they missed a band by 1 point. And it was hard for me to hold that meeting and explain those teachers because it's not, they were not disrespectful. They were
Right.
very nice. We're peers, but it's a confrontational issue that I have to take as a DEI expert. So
There are changes in the star grading this year, though, with all teachers. There's a transition grid, I think they're calling it. So for the growth, you get points for like not necessarily going to the next level, like did not meet to approaches, but if you go from the low did not meet to high did not meet, you get points. And so there are a lot more points to be earned.
okay, that's a
Which
good
would
thing.
ultimately then help the teachers' scorecards.
Because
Yeah.
when I was revising the data, we were starting that topic on teacher turnover. That is one of a big issue here at the campus.
Yeah.
I think that the ones that are staying, we're doing great, we're moving forward, but definitely the turnover of the teachers is
And
putting us
the other
back.
thing, like the district, I think, knows this as do most businesses, but the pay is not keeping up with inflation.
Right.
So the teachers may have gotten a small raise, they moved levels, or even staying the same level, and then there's the retention bonus that they will get if they were here last year, but it's still not keeping up with
No,
inflation.
no.
Right.
And so that's, something that's sort of out of our circle of control, but the district and all districts are
All
gonna have to look
districts.
at that, because that's gonna be nationwide,
Right.
where the pay is not keeping up with inflation, which in private industry, they do, I think it's a lot easier, to pay people more. And so they're getting raises and teachers can go work in private industry,
Right.
and make more money.
Do you see or foresee like a crisis within our profession?
I
Already
do for
there.
sure. I mean, I think if we're not already there, we're definitely like tiptoeing in there. I mean, think about how many schools just in Dallas ISD, we won't even go statewide, how many vacancies these campuses have. I know one of our schools, and I mean all positions, so not even just teachers, but like all the staff that it takes to fill schools to make them function effectively. We know of a principal in our feeder pattern that is having to be a cafeteria worker.
It's
So all the
crazy.
students get fed like on that campus. So I think we're there.
And all the pulling from administration that they're coming back to.
The other thing is though, and we're hiring people who aren't
Certified.
certified, who
Right.
aren't, I understand alternative certification because I went through it myself, but
Me too.
But right now
there
we've
is
opened
a
up our
huge
campus.
learning curve
Yeah.
to become a good, effective teacher, and so we're hiring people who have never had any education courses, and it's 3 years.
Yes.
Well, I was gonna say this year we opened up our district to be a district of innovation. And so that means that I can just come to you with a degree and you're going to put me right into the classroom. And so, I could have been, I don't know, a nurse or a lawyer or whatever.
Like me, I was in marketing. I was
Well,
in
but
real
you went through an
estate.
alternative certification.
Yes, I
plan.
did.
This is different. With
Oh,
the
it's
district of innovation, I just come to a district and say, I have a bachelor's in criminal justice and, I've been doing whatever for 10 years, but now I want to get into education, and they'll just put me into a gen ed classroom. And so,
So we've had that before, but the reason the districts did that was more for the high school level.
Right.
to get teachers teaching the career courses, because you know, you had someone who's working at the junior college teaching whatever class, you know, a plumbing class. They're not going to go get certified by the state, so they can teach high school kids.
No, impossible. But
They're
now
not
we've opened it up to
that.
classrooms.
And yeah, this year with COVID and the shortages, they said let's just use that. And so for gen ed teachers,
Come sit right here.
Okay.
you know, you can
Put that chair back.
just have.
I'm kind of afraid. I'm doing these courses, trying to get my principalship license, but I have to say that next year I see myself in my happy place. Yeah, at least for next year. Let's see. I do think we have the time already. We have 38 minutes. I'm going to pause the video here and then just do a reflection. I have to thank you so much, Ms. Crowley, for your time, and Ms. Reeves,
Yes, of course.
because they're doing this because they love me. Many years of a relationship, a working relationship, and it was hard to get this video in the schedule, but we did it.
Yes.
Thank you
You're
so much.
welcome. All right.
Can we pause it? Can we pause it? Is there a way that we can pause it? So I don't know.
Might not
It's
be the
just
same video.
is it the same video?
There's a stop button.
It's stop, but can we pause instead of stopping because it's gotta be in one clip.